Good Saturday morning, everyone. This is Professor Sasso. I want to check in with you this weekend because it's a big weekend in our class where you're putting your research paper together and trying to make transitions and write a new intro and then trying to write that concluding part. So I want to make sure that everybody kind of knows what's going on. I spent the last week in my in-person classes looking at these, and there's a few kinks that we sort of need to work out because when I looked at the drafts, there's a few things that didn't work when we put them all together. So the first thing is that your introduction should now be reflective of your entire paper, right? So before your introduction is probably the introduction you used for essay 1, but you want to make sure that your thesis statement now reflects the essay is going to examine the conflict, two sides, consequences, and possibly offer a solution. So you don't necessarily have to say what all of those things are, but it should tell you now that the paper is going to do that, okay? The next part are these transitions between essays, right? So at the end of essay 1 and the beginning of essay 2, you have an essay 1 conclusion and an essay 2 introduction. Some students found that they took those completely out, that it got so repetitive, like saying, here's the conflict, here's the two sides, here's the major consequences. We say that so much in the paper that some of my students in my in-person classes literally took the entire conclusion and intros out of their papers between essays. And I'm totally fine with that. What you're hoping to do is that the essay kind of reads like a continuous essay on one topic. So you might find that you take those out, or I've told other people to make those really short, those moments between essays. So you get to the end of the informative, you say, now you know what the conflict is, let's look at the two sides. That's as simple as those transitions need to be, or not at all. Sometimes their paper just reads really well without them. So same between essay 2 and essay 3. And then at the end of essay 3 is where you're writing your new piece, right? Where you're trying to write a conclusion to this whole big thing. And what I found is I gave you guys in the integrated research essay guide, I gave you a ton of paragraphs to write. Like I said, re-mention the major arguments from each side and tell us why we need a solution. And I found when I'm reading through the drafts this week that just ends up making the whole essay sound repetitive as well. We've already done all of that. So really that last piece, that last concluding piece, depending on how long your paper is at this point, really needs to be kind of like 2 really solid paragraphs where you offer some type of solution, resolution, moving forward point, and those should be supported by research. They can be kind of your own perspective, but you're not going to say I think or I feel or I believe. You're still going to stay in that third person voice that the entire essay's in. And these should be real body paragraphs. They should have 2 citations and be supported by research. Here's what the world thinks we should do about this now, okay? So that's the first part, is kind of getting through that essay and making sure it works as a whole. And then that conclusion can really be briefer than I originally assigned, okay? I think it's gonna make more sense. And I gave you suggestions on how to work your way through the integration, but really the important part is that it reads okay like a full document. It's not gonna be perfect because we wrote it in 3 sections, but that it kind of makes sense together. And I'm gonna let you use your judgment to do that. The other big thing as I'm reading through essays is just, I'm finding that as we did a lot of writing and we're not being as careful with our mechanics. So I know you had a lot going on in a research paper, right? You had to integrate research, you had to do your MLA and text citations, you had to talk about consequences and 2 sides. So there was a lot going on that we sometimes forget to check our mechanics. In essay 3 for me, if your grades were kind of lower than a B, that wasn't content, that was mostly that your sentences read funny, or you had a lot of fragments, or you had a lot of run-ons. And we have to make sure that by the time we leave 110 and when we're writing in other classes, that these mechanics are correct, that your sentences read correctly, and that they have the right pieces, that they're a complete sentence with subject, verb, direct object, And one of my suggestions is to have your paper run through, we have something called Smart Thinking. It's under course information. And it's an online tutor where you can run your paper through. and they help you with grammar and mechanics, and they also help you with content. So I think it's a really smart idea to run your last paper through that. You just open it right on our Blackboard under course information. You can upload a paper, an online tutor gets to it within 24 hours, so it's really great, and I highly suggest that for the research paper. Essay 3 I did grade. There's one, Taylor, I'm still working on yours just because I wanted to print it out and read it more carefully. And then Michelle and Megan and Taylor, I know you submitted revisions, so I will be grading those today. So just know that those grades will be uploaded. And then everything should be in except for the integrated research essay. When those come in Sunday into Monday, I'm going to be commenting on them, and I think I'm going to be doing the voiceover that I did at some of the documents at the beginning of the semester, where it's called Jing, and I talk right into your paper. It's just because it's so long, I think that's going to be an easier way to do it. So those should begin uploading by Monday afternoon, and then by Thursday, the integrated research paper is due. So I just wanted to give you a few of those pointers as you work through the weekend. What's most important about that big research essay is it does fit together in some ways, but also that you have really strong body paragraphs, that you have 2 citations per paragraph where you can, that your MLA in-text citations are correct. Those are getting better and better as we go along, that your mechanics are good, you know. I need to say that you, as a researcher and writer, have reached a competency in this class, and that you can go and do this in other classes. And that's just really, really important that we get there by the end of the semester. If you have questions about your grades or about anything, feel free to call me, email me, stop in with a copy of your research essay. Dorothy did that yesterday. It was really great. We could just sit down and talk about our paper rather than trying to translate that all over email. So just know I'm here. I think you've all done a really good job. We're almost at the end, and we're just working out the last kinks of that paper, and I think we can do it. All right, so enjoy your weekend. Work really hard. In less than a week, you will be done with English 110, hopefully successfully. And let me know what you need, okay? Thanks all.